Assalamualaikum to our respective lecturer, Madam Asla. Before we start, I would like to introduce myself and my group member first. So, I will be the first presenter. My name is Inas Najla, and I will be explaining the introduction of our ebook. Next, for the second presenter is Alia Najwa. Meanwhile, for the third presenter would be Alia Wahida. The fourth presenter is Nabila, and for the fifth presenter would be Alisha Akila. Last but not least, the last presenter is Nur Shahira Husna. So, without further ado, let's start with the introduction. After getting married and having children, this is what we call a family. A family is where we can find our source of happiness and affection. The feeling of having someone that will definitely protect us from everything. Therefore, here comes the part of parenthood that every couple is mostly excited yet afraid about. Entering into this chapter of their lives, being a parent is quite challenging as they have to make sure that everything they are doing for the children is right and will help the children become a successful person for the future. In fact, parents have the rights and responsibilities towards their children. Responsibility is when you are in charge of taking care of something. It is your job and duty to make sure that everything will go smoothly. And if it goes the other way, you still have to take care of it. So what is the meaning of parent responsibility? Parental responsibility refers to legal rights, responsibilities, powers, and the authority a parent has over a child and their belongings. It is true that a mother will automatically have the parental responsibility for her child since birth, as she's the one pregnant and took care of her baby for 9 months. Meanwhile, a father will have the parental responsibility when he is married to the child's mother. In Islam, both of the couple have to be legally married to each other before they proceed to have a child. Next is the adoptive parents. These people will adopt a child as they can't have their own baby. The most likely reason usually occurs as one of the spouses is barren or the individual are planning to not get married and they decided to adopt a child instead. And of course, it does not matter if the parents are married or single. They still have the responsibility to take care of their own children. That is all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. I'll be talking about parents' responsibilities. First, you should make an effort to get together. Your presence in your child's life is essential. Self-centered entertainment for your child does not prove your affection for them. Your affection for them is demonstrated by always being there. Every week, take your kids somewhere to do an activity they enjoy. Construct an interest with your kid. Your child needs to understand that they are able to constantly turn to you for support, guidance, or help no matter what is going on in their lives. Second, have respect for your children. Do not speak to your child in a condescending manner. Children are intelligent and we often underestimate how well they comprehend concepts. Both you and your child must earn each other's respect. As your child tries to communicate with you, pay attention to them. Never ignore their viewpoints. Your child will remember and emulate how you treat them by treating others in the future. Third, make every effort to be your child's biggest supporter. Begin by offering them emotional support. Parents must support their kids on an emotional level. They must encourage them to improve and provide their interest support. Teach children how to control their emotions and interact with others in a nice and respectful manner. Encourage your child to take part in extracurricular activities and attend any events where they perform. Encourage them and don't underestimate their dreams and aspirations. Fourth, do educate your kids ethical values. Moral principles should be instilled in kids at an early age. Youngsters must understand how to communicate with people and conduct properly. Children need to learn compassion, respect, politeness, patience, and honesty from their parents. Youth should receive a proper education to prevent them from hurting other kids or animals. Last but not least, make sure your child is safe. Your kids should be aware of who they may and cannot talk to. Youngsters must be aware that they cannot converse with or accept sweets from strangers. Parents need to explain to their kids what constitutes inappropriate touching. They must provide a secure environment where kids can talk openly about anything. In order to keep your children safe from danger or abuse, keep an eye on them, especially if you have a regular babysitter or nanny. That's all from me. Thank you.
Now I will talk about don'ts as a parent. So the first point is parents should not abandon or ignore their children, because children really rely on their parents' emotional and physical support. Without this support, they can become anxious, isolated, and depressed. Also, a lack of parental involvement can make the children become more sensitive to peer pressure, and also can be engaged in risky behavior, such as, for instance, the teenage who parents are less involved in their lives can more likely to skip schools, engage in drugs, alcohol, and also become involved in criminal activities. The second point is, as a parent, you should not only notice what your child does wrong, you should also be aware of the kind of environment they're in and also which people they're associating with. Be involved in their life and be someone who they can rely on for support and advice. For instance, ask your child who they are friend with and what activities they do together, and be sure to have a meaningful conversation with them to ensure that they are safe and have a healthy environment. So the third point for don'ts as a parent should not lose their patience when their child make a mistake. It is important to remember that a child always make mistake as they go. Therefore, as a parent, you should be patient and be forgiving for their children, and instead of being mad at them, use it as an opportunity to teach them on how to do better in the future. For instance, if their child spill the juice, don't get mad at them. Just use that opportunity to talk to them and teach them on how to hold the cup better and how to clean up the mess. The last point is parents should not bicker with each other in front of their child, because it can be very damaging to their child's self-esteem and also their sense of security, because witness their parents having an argument. It can also lead to a child feeling like they are responsible to that argument, and also they can't do anything to stop it. For example, if a parent argue in front of your children, the child might start to believe that all relationship must be involved with argument, and also that they must always take sides. That's all for me.
And I'll be presenting about how the responsibilities of parents to their children relate with the current issue. So for the first current issue is pregnancy before marriage. As a parents, they should teach their children how to live according to Islamic values and rules, and they should educate them that how Islam forbids any kind of sexual contact before marriage, and they should talk to their children about the consequences that will happen if they do not obey these rules. And next, I'll be talking about the second issue, which is mental health. As a parents, they should pay attention to their children's mental health, because it can affect them, such as they will have trouble in school, they will use drugs, or even commit suicide. Thus, it is important for parents to pay attention and provide them the support that they need. And next, the third issue is child abuse. As a parents, they should be aware and pay attention to their children in order to find any sign of abuse, and so that they can take action to prevent them from happening. They should teach their children how to keep themselves safe from harm. And lastly is child marriage. This is because it is very common thing that still happens these days. It usually happens when their parents are not able to support them financially. Therefore, as the parents, they should make sure that their children, especially daughters, are not forced to get married young, and they should get the education that they need. And it is against the law for children to get married. That is all from me.
To continue, I will be suggesting recommendations on what exactly parents should do when taking up a role as a parent. It is obvious in the book that parents have to fulfill basic needs for their children. Yet, some parents are not aware of this as having a mindset to not take the basic requirements seriously. Therefore, fulfilling the basic needs is one of the first steps that parents should be instantly aware of, such as providing them a shelter that is far from danger that may harm them. Parents should train themselves to be able to prepare for certain situations at all costs, so when an obstacle comes their way that may risk everyone's safety, the parents will be able to solve it. This awareness and preparation amongst parents can let their children live their life without having to constantly worry about their safety. It is true that a child should be independent in order to survive when they grow up. However, it is the parents' responsibility to provide them a place that they can feel safe in. This can benefit both parents and their children, as the children will grow up by seeing their parents' way of handling situations. When this step is provided, parents would usually be aware that it will also come by preparing healthy food intakes and proper and decent garments to represent themselves. When children grow up by making their parents as their role model, the information they have gained can help them with their own children. Another suggestion to spread awareness is by creating a campaign to parents who are new to it or have recently gained that responsibility. Campaigns can be managed by parents who have experiences. Experienced parents have more knowledge on what exactly a parent should be more aware of, especially when it comes to spotting mistakes that are not done properly. One thing that parents are not aware of is not realizing that they're not giving enough support that is intended to be given. As Alia Najwa has said, emotional support is crucial, but it isn't the only support that parents should focus on. It includes being supported financially, educationally, and medically. When parents are able to connect with their children, they should know their children's interests, current and past situations, and their mental and physical problems. Upon knowing their interests and hobbies, parents are suggested to enroll them to education schools or institutions that are related to their interests and desires. By doing so, parents will have to endure the course until they finish their applied education. Parents should avoid forcing their children to follow their future plannings without a discussion first. Of course, the parents will have to give guidance and give advice to their children to avoid making rash decisions. Once all are in agreement, what's left is for the parents to keep their children motivated.
Okay, so I'll be talking about the conclusion. To conclude, it is vital for parents to be responsible towards their children. Firstly, a responsible parent is important to create children that have a brighter future. When children obey their parents, this will teach the children to respect others when they grow up. Hence, the children will have a brighter future, as having respect for others is quite difficult to be done by some people. Next, it is also necessary in order to avoid children from having traumatizing childhoods. Teenagers who experience bad childhood tend to be grow up with bad attitudes. For instance, if you were constantly shouted at as a child, then possibly you might turn into a grown-up who is hot-tempered. Lastly, It is essential to be a responsible parent so that a better generation from the current one can be created. This act is also known as break the chain. For example, you were often scolded even for the smallest mistake as a child. To be a better person or to be a better parent, you can break the chain by starting to explain gently to your future child on why certain mistakes should not be made. Thank you, that's all from us.